Oh, that's not what I want though. How do I? Settings. Hang on, camera. No, don't want that one. Sorry. HP. And mirror. Yep. Oh, kia ora, Di. How are you, Cuddy? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me all right? Hello, Feminism. How are you? Nice to see you over here. I don't know where Kellyanne is. She gave me this link. So anyway, I'm here. Okay, wonderful. I was supposed to be here about an hour ago, but I got a bit delayed. So I just wonder if I did send. Oh, here we go. She sent me a message. No, she didn't. Someone else. I do apologise. Yeah. Oh, that's you, Kare. Oh, you can hear Stussy. Yeah, it's because no one feeds him. Kare. Yes, darling. Shh, shh. Mummy's on a live stream. Shh.
Hello! Hello, darling. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, good. Look at me inviting you to this stream and then not being able to get my own head on there.
Don't worry about it. I'm surprised I figured it out.
Oh, well, thank you. We're using StreamYard. I've only used it a couple of times and I've had some failures and I've had a few success, but we've got you successfully here. So
Yeah,
we've been
wonderful.
meaning to do this for a little while now, haven't we? Had a bit of a chat online.
We have, and I did promise you a few months ago. I said, yeah. I just got so busy, so same old, same old. We're all in the same basket in this movement, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's time's gone really fast since Melbourne and since Kelly J. Keen's been here. Time sped up. I don't know for you, but for me, that time sort of like was just so intense, and then it hit that, and then time's just flown with plenty of other stuff to do, family stuff and turfery, of course.
Yeah. Well, I see you've been doing some Speakers Corner events.
Yep. We've got the marvelous Leah here, and she does some great work. We've got some amazing group of ladies over here in Brisbane, and
Great.
Since Kelly J. Keen too, there's been a lot of other interest and a lot of other people coming on board, which is great, and more little groups popping up everywhere, which I fully encourage. And anybody who wants me to come to their event and share the love, I'm more than happy to do so, which is which we want to do. The more we can get chatty, the better. Now, what I wanted to share with everybody here today is when I went looking for the turban down under here, I came across Manawahine originally and Turf Talk Down Under as our sort of there were, others as well, Kit Kowalski and Kat Karanar and Holly Lawford Smith. They all had stuff in here. But when I went looking, the algorithms delightfully offered me yourself, and there was video with Rex Landy on there as well. And I was so interested to hear what you particularly had to say on colonization, because it was another aspect of Peking for me that
Okay.
I really hadn't thought of from that perspective before. And as we go on our journey, we peak at different levels. There's always something else that blows, for me, that blows my mind, you know. Like my experiences is coming up to 10 years ago, and I still hear somebody, a woman, say something, and I go, shit, I didn't think of it from that perspective. And that's what you know, happened with me when I heard the perspective that you brought. I just hadn't even considered it like that, and it was just mind
It's
blowing.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you found us. I'm glad that the stars aligned on the internet and you found us. That's fabulous. So, for me, and I mean, I have told my story time and time again. I feel sometimes that, you know, people must get sick and tired of hearing you say it, but you know how I came to this stone was that when my daughter and I decided, or rather when we decided to homeschool, she'd already been to primary school for a few years, so she already had the basics down pat, and I just thought, well, you know, what else am I going to do? You know, I've got this time on my hands, because she's pretty easy to teach, you know what I mean? So I thought, oh, I'll just do a quick uni course, you know, nothing too flash, just an online one. Obviously, I can't, you know, go on campus or anything. So funnily enough, an Indigenous Australia course came up, or Aboriginal Australia, I should say, a course came up. And they very rarely come up for non-Indigenous or non-Aboriginal. So I jumped at the chance. Really loved the material. The first assignment was, you know, wonderful. A second assignment, they presented the genderbreed person, and I thought it was a joke. I didn't know, like I felt like I've been living under a rock. I'd never come across this stuff before. It was clear from our online meetings with the other students that I felt like I was the only one that didn't know, but they were speaking a language I had never heard of before. You know, cis, you know, all this, you know what I mean, all this type of language. And I knew, straight away, I just thought, it's got nothing to do with Aboriginality, nothing to do with Native people or Indigenous. I'm pretty sure, you know, because they were talking about this idea that gender is how you feel. And I'm thinking, well, no, you know, our, for Māori at least, you know, our whakapapa or our genealogy, it doesn't exist without the relationships of men and women, you know, tane and wahine. It's just a fact. And also for our culture, you know, we've always believed that wahine or woman, well, you know, we are the creators of life. It's just a fact. And so I pretty much backed out, you know, backed away slowly, never to return, because I said, you know, because I wasn't going to pay that amount of money to either have to lie about it, oh, sorry, darling, have to lie about it, or be forced, or rather, you know, be failed because I'm going to be honest. Do you know what I mean? It was like, well, no, goodbye. And it was that was what set me on a course. And I thought to myself, if they're doing this to Aboriginal Australia or Aboriginal, they are definitely doing it to other Indigenous cultures.
Yeah.
And I see feminism is watching. So she'd know. I used to talk about Trinidad, about Canada in the comments, you know, and you know, when it comes, so this is how I started seeing this entire agenda as a colonization. So they've gone from, you know, we identify as your landowners, we identify as your leaders, we identify as your, you know, healers, we identify as your teachers too, we identify as you. So that's how, and I'm thinking, wow, you know, and I mean, absolutely everything is mirrored with, you know, what happened to Indigenous peoples, the language.
Yes,
The language,
and
you know.
that's what hit me. That when you spoke about the language and them forcing you to no longer speak your language and no longer use your words, and then that is what that was the
Right.
back of the bus that I totally hit, you know. And I thought, Yeah, because
Mm.
it's all with that, isn't it? You control the language, then you control
That's
the
right.
thought.
That's right. You control the minds of the people. You control their opinions. You control their choices. You control how they feel about themselves when you change the language or you force upon
Yeah,
them another language, a foreign language, you know. So, and we see this mirrored across, other Indigenous societies as well. It's just, that's, and, they know this. Colonizers they know the tricks. They've got all the tricks. They've been using them for years, centuries. So it's a
that's it.
tried and tested format.
And when it doesn't work the way they want, they back off, wait a bit, and then they come at it again, And that was
Well,
something that, yeah, it was something
sorry.
I said
Yeah,
to
yeah,
my
yeah.
daughter, recently
Mm,
is once we sort this out, and we
mm,
will,
yeah,
no doubt, we will sort this out.
yeah.
You have to teach your daughters and daughters
That's right. Can't
never,
take her off the prize.
not
Mm,
never, because when we
yeah,
do, they will go
yeah,
again. Do you
yeah.
know what I mean?
We,
This is something we're
well,
going to
oh,
have to teach our
absolutely.
daughters to
Yeah, because if
always
it
hold
if it
that line.
doesn't work, yeah, because if it doesn't work, Stone, what happens is that they you're right, they back off, but then what they do is they indoctrinate a few, elevate those ones. So what they're doing is they create an elitist class. So there is an elitist class of Māori in New Zealand.
Yeah,
Same with here in Australia, wherever,
yeah.
it's one of the, again, one of the tools of colonization. And then they go back in again. And it's because that person's Māori or that person's Aboriginal that, yep, that's true. Yep, gender identity existed in your culture.
And
You know,
that's where they get to change that history, because now that
yeah.
they've got those elders that
Mm.
weren't elders before but are elders now,
Well, that's
to have
right.
agreed with that ideology that didn't necessarily existed,
Mm.
50 years
Yep,
ago, that's
that's right.
that's it's wiped out in that sort of thing. And that's what's dangerous about the internet too, algorithms,
Mm.
the way that they
Yeah.
can just change the way that something is said. Like, I mean, look,
Ooh, it's
get an old dictionary
mm.
from your salvos. Go get an old dictionary, put it in your house, an encyclopedia one, because the internet definition of woman has been changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, because we're homeschoolers. Actually, before then, anyway, I've got like a massive dictionary. It's friggin' like I've had it for
Yeah,
years
yeah,
now. Yeah. Oh, that's, yeah. I'm a book
yeah.
person, so
That's the one,
yeah,
like a shorty like me, it doubles up if I need to get something off the top of the bookcase there,
yeah,
I'll put
yeah.
that one and step up onto it. That's, we've got to go back to that.
We've got to go back to our roots, and that's essentially what we do at Manawahinekorero. We do think about it. I'm so glad, by the way. So just to clarify, so I'm a co-founder of Manawahinekorero, myself and my partner in crime, Diane Landy. So Diane Landy and I are co-founders of Manawahinekorero. I can't think of a better person to be standing next to in this fight. And then in Australia, which is where I live in Victoria. I'm also co-founder of Women's Action Group, and I'm one of
Yes.
three women that have co-founded Women's Action Group. So just so everyone knows.
Yes. And Women's Action Group Melbourne is the
Mm.
first group to adopt like the Kelly J. Keane format of letting every woman speak.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
yes.
I was surprised. Well, and it's because Kelly J has said, and I've spoken to her on the Turf Talk, what should call it, Turf Talk Tuesday, sorry,
Yes.
program. She's always said, if not you, then who, and if not now, then
Yeah.
when. And
Yeah.
we really did take that message to heart because, with Women's Action Group, we started in 2019 here in Victoria, Stone, and that was the reason we did that was because. The self-ID legislation was being discussed in Parliament. Daniel Andrews was obviously, he's the premier at the time, still is. So it was still is a Labor-led, state government here in Victoria. And it was the second time that the sex self-ID legislation had been, attempted to pass. And this time, of course, they were successful. So we created Women's Action Group in 2019 to just start the ball rolling. We've written to MPs and decision makers. We have met with them. We have held, we've gotten together at the start, actually, we were just gathering, just speaking to people in the community, just having like like a cup of tea, morning tea or a lunch, just so that we could talk through like where is everyone at with this.
Yeah.
So that took a while, and that was at the lovely Lisa Owen's home. And Lisa Owen, who is co-founder of Women's Action Group, she used to run for the Greens in this area, so she's quite well known, but she's been retired for a while now. And as you can imagine, very heartbreaking to realise, how backwards the Greens have become on this issue.
Yeah.
They are up to their necks in it. They won't even listen to sense. So yeah, anyway. So we pretty much did it all. We held, we've gathered with or met with other women's groups. We've done so much work, and we just thought, well, this doesn't seem to be working. So maybe we need to take a step back and just rethink our strategy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was just, while I was doing the dishes or something, just watching Kelly J, and I just thought, oh, why don't we do that? because one of it's the same with Manawahinekorero too. Like our fundamental aim is to pull back or repeal all the laws and the policies that have been put in place that have removed, obviously sex as a protected characteristic, and that have harmed women's rights and child safeguarding. We want to repeal all of that stuff back. That is our aim for both Women's Action Group and Manawahinekorero, pretty much. So, if we're going to do that, we have to start from, we have to go back to basics. We have to start talking to and listening to other women.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to do Speakers Corner events in Melbourne. We hope to do regional Victoria, but yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So that's where I actually met you. I met you on Women's Action Group over there. I had just worked out how to do a live thingy on my YouTube channel, and you had called out for a similar issue. And I jumped over and gave you a little bit of tech advice because I'd only learned it 5 seconds earlier.
Yes. Yes, you helped me. I'm saying, how do I get my camera to work this way? Yes, you taught me through the steps. Actually, I was talking to Rex the other day, and she asked me about something. I said, you know what? Best person to ring, ask Stone. She'll know. Don't ask me, ask her.
Yeah, I'm working it out slowly but surely. Like this, we still have our hiccups, but we're getting there, Michelle. And that's that's what I wanted to say too. Is like I'm a real fangirl. I think you're amazing. And sometimes I can't get over the fangirliness myself. When you see one of the sisters even call out, don't mind jumping in and giving a sister a hand. It's a good way to actually get to know people, where you're in the chats or you're watching the videos and you sort of go, what turfing is on so many levels, and sometimes it's just hearing that call of, hey, I know how to do that. I learned it 5 seconds ago. Jump on and say, hey, Michelle, I think just those things of being able to reach down and little helps up with somebody else makes a big difference. And for us, it meant that we got to be quite friendly, and I adore our chats, which is why I'm lucky to be able to share you today with the channel, which has grown since Melbourne. And I wanted to talk
well done.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Melbourne because I went down there, and one of my goals was to give you a hug, which I succeeded in doing. So
we did do that.
yeah, it was pretty crazy, wasn't it? But my husband, he was across the road at the pub there, just keeping an eye on myself and all what was going on. And what a lot of people didn't understand or know is the police actually stopped anybody from going out of the pub while that was on.
I heard that.
So they had left them in there and didn't want them coming out, because I assume they thought they were mainly the husbands and partners that were there keeping an eye on the ladies. So, but what he did say was, out of all the ladies that spoke, he heard you the most clearly over everybody. He said the way you articulate, the way you speak has just got so much strength. And that's one thing that, I'm really grateful for, is those who can speak, should speak. And I just, like, as I said to my husband, I adore that. I've watched that back a few times, your speech, and it is
Oh, have you?
just, you do articulate and project really beautifully. What did you think of
Thank
the
you.
whole day? Like, your overall sort of
Mm.
thoughts of the time actually at the protest?
At the event. Look, I loved it. I really do, because I really, and I think because I've been doing these, or rather not me, but Women's Action Group have been doing these Speakers Corner events. Um, like, I was so glad when I rocked up. I could not believe how many people had turned up. It was amazing,
It
and
was
straight away I
exciting.
thought, oh, this is going to be so cool. But in my head, because I had a way longer speech, in my head my speech went because I thought we're never
Yeah.
going to hear everyone if I carry on. So well, not just me, but anyway. So I thought the event was absolutely amazing. I got an appreciation, obviously, for the work that Kelly J does. And it was just wonderful. Just like the moment I stepped in, everyone's go, "Oh, Michelle, Michelle, hi. Oh, there's Michelle." So,
Yeah.
so that was really
Um,
lovely. So
it
that was
was
really,
it,
really lovely.
it was that was I same. I the sisterhood, and just the getting to see the faces that we know online, to say hello, to be up close and to hug in the field, to share that moment. Um,
Absolutely. Well, it's a very
it was
special moment, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was
Mm,
really, it was a magical moment. And
mm,
I personally couldn't thank Kelly J enough for
mm.
coming and doing that with us, and sharing that with us, with the local teams. Like, myself
Absolutely.
being on, I was on the little local team here, and I'm really grateful for not only Kelly J's crew,
Yes.
and that,
Mm.
giving us, because she could have brought her own crew. She could have
Yeah,
had
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
mob to do that. Like,
Mm.
um, and I do think that is definitely a moment in time. I think I'm going to. I've been thinking about this a bit, but I do think there will be a tattoo to uh, to mark the
Ooh,
moment. I've designed it. I've just got to go to my tattooist to organise it. So we might have a reveal
awesome.
party eventually, but
Oh, we
that would
better
be
have a
done.
reveal party. You can't
Yeah,
announce that and not reveal.
yeah. So, it's
Awesome.
done as much as I've got to get my dollars together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're not cheap. But no, good
No,
on you. Good
no.
on you.
But I do like my ink, and that is a choice that I make to modify and manipulate my body.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Oh, look,
and
you're not going to get any, like, I certainly, like, our people, we mark our skin, you know what I mean? That's
yeah,
our
yeah,
tradition. So, but hey, just quickly going back to the Melbourne event. Sorry, I didn't quite finish what I was saying. But, obviously, even though it was an amazing event, and I'd organise an after, and like a lunch at, somewhere else. And that was
yep,
just so that we had a kind of an exit strategy as well, because I was thinking we don't want women to be going to their cars alone or going to the train
yeah,
station. We want to be able to gather so that we're safe. But can I just say, if we're making comparisons, the cops in Melbourne did a brilliant job. Um, and I'm sure everyone who's watching saw what happened in Auckland. So compare the two.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, there's just no comparison. But with the Nazi thing, like, yeah,
I was so
seriously.
It's
I
so
mean, they'll say
funny.
anything. They'll say anything to avoid discussing what we're talking about, to avoid highlighting our, the top, what we're discussing, the reason why we are gathering in front of Parliament House, and why so many women want to get up to the mic. A lot of women who've never spoken before publicly. I mean, as most people can tell, I've spoken publicly before. So, so you know,
Yeah,
but
but every time there's a new woman
so
that gets up to speak,
that's right. Mm.
it really is an amazing moment. And um,
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
I
And
certainly don't regret going to Melbourne to
no.
experience that.
Oh, it was lovely to
Like,
meet you. It's always nice to meet people face to face, for the first time I've ever met. I've, obviously worked with Catherine Dees before, and it was so nice to meet Catherine Dees, face to face. We had a photo together, and
she's just a sweetheart. She is an
yeah,
absolute sweetheart.
And thank goodness the weather wasn't as hot as we'd expected. But what I was going to say is that after Melbourne, Women's Action Group, like I was so busy. Well, we were really, really busy taking inquiries from everyone. And then Auckland happened a week later, and then it just amped it up. So we've gone from, not so many on our email group to vroom. It's growing so much since Kelly J. King was here in Melbourne. So thank you, Kelly J. King.
Oh, I mean, she shined a big light on it. And I think I always say, if you can't shine a light on something, then try to mirror it. Put a mirror next to it. Double that light. If you cannot, for whatever reason, come out and be that light, mirror the light. Just share it. That simple act of sharing it just pushes something so much further than we can, it's just those little things. Little tiny things make the biggest difference. Like if you've got a big sort of like a lagoon, we've got a lagoon here down the road, a bunyip lagoon, and there's a bunyip towel that goes with the lagoon and everything. And if you've got a whole heap of pebbles, you've got way more little rings going. So we've got to get that going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, it makes... Sorry, I was going to say, it makes me wonder, like with the Monash, I think it's Monash City Council. I don't know if they call themselves City Council, but there's council in Monash anyway. I'd never heard of such a, like, I think it was, what's his name? Sorry. Rukshan, I can't remember his name. I'm so sorry. He's an independent, they call themselves journalists, and the other guy's name's not coming to me at the moment. Anyway, so they went and reported, like on their channels, their respective channels, on like how many people showed up, ratepayers to this council showed up to protest against, or to rather to voice their disagreement with having drag queen story time in their library. And I've not seen that amount of people before in any Melbourne or Victorian. I mean, maybe I missed it. I don't know, but I can't see how Kelly J. Keen's event didn't influence that.
I totally agree. And also the women in America, right? Like the Amy and Kate, the way they Kate Yang, the way that they film the people going into their members and speaking. I think that's influenced us a lot to actually go, hey, we can go to those times too, and we can have our say, or also we can write that letter. I think it's changed that sort of idea that politics is not for the average person in regards to that. Like we are getting a lot more than probably we used to. I know I am definitely getting more.
Oh, look, I think it's been said many times about our people, but it's almost like we're born into politics kind of thing. We just like, when we started Women's Action Group, I had a few, like some of my friends were like, oh, so you've spoken to like the local MPs? I'm like, yeah. Oh, so like, anyone can, that's their job. They're like, MPs are supposed to be, they're supposed to represent the voice of the people. That's pretty much their job, so make use of it. That's, we're not shy. Manawahinekorero, absolutely, we're not shy at all about when it comes to that kind of stuff. And the thing is, it's absolutely necessary. We must, even if we feel that, oh, maybe it's not, maybe we haven't quite articulated what we, trying to say, get our message across, or, because when you do have an appointment, sorry, that glitched a bit back. When you do have an appointment with an MP, they do have a time frame that you can't be in there for hours and hours. So, you do have to make sure that you plan it well. That's always, I mean, I personally like to go in with a strategy, because like I said, you've only got them for 20 minutes or 30, however long it is. Make the most of it. Make sure you know exactly what you're talking about. Go in there with a plan, with a strategy, and don't go alone. It's
Yes.
don't go alone unless you're
Yes.
familiar with them. Like,
Yes.
I'm
Well,
pretty
we
familiar with myself. I go,
lady up at Caboolture, she contacted me through the channel actually, and asked me if any chance
wonderful.
I'd go support her at her local MPs, which I did. Jumped in the car and off
Oh,
we went
great.
together. And
Well
she
done.
had her emails and everything that she sort of had. And this was Mark Ryan. He's the MP for police and
Right.
prisons.
And
He
corrections. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Corrections, yes.
Yeah.
And we had that 20 minutes and we were going a bit over. So a couple of the police were sort of leaning on the door. And one lady had said to me, I was at your car parked out the back. And I thought, oh, you know who I am then, eh? Like you do, because my car was the only one there. And
Yep.
so they were sort of like, hurry up. This policewoman was
Mm.
polite, but giving us the. And just as we sort of were
Mm.
walking out, I said, oh, can I just say one thing? Can I just ask one thing? Do you really think there's such thing as a lady dick?
What do they say? I'm
He
curious
just
to
said,
know.
like, literally, he just went, oh, do you think that's appropriate? And I said, yeah, I do actually think it's appropriate because we're talking about these. So it works out here about 60 men who call themselves women so far. Out of 10,000 men will be put in the women's prison, where there's about 900 women in Queensland prisons currently here. So that doesn't take into effect how many men are currently housed in women's prisons right now. So it could be up to about 10% of women will be men under self-ID. No.
Yeah.
And they're not
It's so insane.
That's not getting recorded properly.
No. Yeah, we know that for Victoria. They're not
Yeah.
making the distinction between the men who pretend to be women or claim to be women in women's prisons and women in prison.
Yeah.
As
Well,
far as
he wouldn't even tell us at all what like they said, I will be assessing them. And when it was asked what the assessment will be and criteria will be for them to enter a women to state fully intact, he couldn't tell us that. So, there isn't any. We've got to say, if you can't tell us what there is, or at least pending it, like send it to us later, then it doesn't exist. Then you're lying. And there was so many lies that they do make. These MPs, they're not truthful people.
Yeah. What is your? I know this is your show. Sorry, I'm going to ask you a question. I hope you don't mind.
That's all right.
What are you? Sorry.
Well, it's more of a conversation than
Yeah.
I'm not structured. We just go with the flow, kind of vibe. Hey?
Well, you said something, and I'm just wondering, what are the Conservative MPs like up your way?
Sorry?
What are the Conservative MPs like up your way?
Some of them aren't too bad. One of our ladies in our little group that we've got here, she went and seen Gerald Rennick, and he's very he's very supportive of the whole thing, and as you know, basically said keep him in the loop of what's going on here. She's been Mary Jones, her name is, and she's very active in going and doing that, work of going into churches and organizing that type of thing, and there's so many components of what you can do, and we can't do it all.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And look, and we've said it so many times, but this entire agenda, it's it's a beast, and it's a many-headed beast, and although it's only one issue. Yeah, exactly. Although it's only one issue, it impacts pretty much every aspect of life. Every aspect of life. So when it comes to, I guess how many of us there are in this movement. And by the way, it's wonderful to watch the movement grow. Almost every day it seems there a new woman coming on board. I'm getting an email, or someone else has started a new YouTube channel, or someone new is on someone else's channel. It's really, it's really wonderful to see it growing.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. But everyone, because it's just so huge, everyone has something to bring to the table. We're not all all the same. We're not all, we have different talents and, different skill sets. And, if we come together, well, not come together, but, if we just, do whatever we can, do the best that we can with what we have, from where we stand, I really do, I feel, especially since Auckland, I know that sounds really, what a juxtaposition. It's horrible watching Auckland unfold, live stream. Oh my goodness, it's just unbelievable. But, what came out of that since is a huge awakening. And I have said it before, Kelly J. King, she rocked up to Auckland, went to New Zealand, didn't say a word, and she ripped the scab off in New Zealand for everyone to see. And because in New Zealand, well, Australia as well, but New Zealand is so bad in terms of, mainstream media, they will, they're worse than the ABC. And it's not just one. It's like pretty much radio, papers, TV, all of it. They just won't talk about the synthetic sex agenda in a way that acknowledges reality. They are definitely captured. All those, I mean, in New Zealand, self-ID, the self-ID laws were passed unanimously. So not even the Conservative MPs voted against it. New Zealand's in real trouble. And everyone saw that, of course.
Yeah. And this is how it manifests. When one of my favorite things to say is the Wright brothers may have invented the plane, but gravity still exists. Just because there's surgeries and there's synthetic hormones doesn't mean that sex is now irrelevant. Like there's laws that run through nature that regardless of what men wants to think about it doesn't change how it runs. And it's gravity,
reality,
and and sex are those things. And I just find it, I find it actually very hard to watch too. Like I've had to remove myself from family in New Zealand because their son was transing, and I couldn't be a witness to that. Like nothing I said or would do would convince otherwise. So the only thing I could do was to say, well, I'm not going to add my energy and that too. I can't play this game with you. I'm really sorry,
Yeah.
And that's an unfortunate thing. We get cancelled, but sometimes we have to cancel other people.
Well, sometimes we have to withdraw. That's right. Sometimes we have to withdraw. Yeah. And the thing too to remember is that we're talking about, this is possibly the biggest cult that I have ever seen. And I do have a personal interest in cults, but that's another story, another conversation. But when it comes to the indoctrination of by cults, it is a very, very different thing to someone just believing in a religion. That's why considered to be cults, because there are certain parameters that
oh no, she frozen up.
We're back.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, cool, awesome. Sorry,
yeah, you're back.
Yeah, awesome. No, that's cool. I don't know if did the volume go as well? Did the sound go as well?
Yes, I lost you. We were talking about the cults.
Sorry, yes. So, so cults, very similar. It's more of a sort of, usually they're like a closer form of colonization in terms of, cults will indoctrinate your belief system, your language. There's always a, like a code of, often the way you dress. And we see that with the counter protesters. Like in Melbourne, we didn't even know that the Nazis were Nazis, because not only can they not wear the insignia in Melbourne, but they were dressed up like, all in black, like like the Troons were in the UK. So,
like Antifa.
So, like Antifa, exactly. So, yeah. And with cults, interestingly, this is another thing. With cults, often they don't allow you to watch the news or to watch movies or to listen to the radio, listen to music. they have like usually they'll have like a select. So all the media, like all your input is controlled as much as your output, if that makes sense. So, what you say, what you think, and also what you absorb as well is controlled for a reason. Your foods and everything, but this is on a grand scale, unlike anything I've ever known before. So when you're talking about a cultist, it's a very, like I said, very, very different thing. They are so brainwashed. That's the only word I can come up with. I'm so sorry, but it's true. Brainwashing is, and actually, back in the day, anyway, there in New Zealand at least, there were hardly any psychologists that understood what brainwashing was or how it worked. I believe there are more now, but it is a specialized area. And what they when cultists come out, the name of the therapy, that's right, the name of the therapy is called deprogramming. And still in Australia, it's not as there's not many psychiatrists or psychologists that actually understand what is required for deprogramming. But I can tell you this, when you go through deprogramming, it is a withdrawal, so it's like giving up a drug, right?
Absolutely,
With this agenda, it is in TV shows, movies, songs, it's in the paper. The media have got so much control. Pretty hard to withdraw. Pretty hard to withdraw from it.
Do you know one of the moments when I sort of it was just after my TRA sort of experience, and my daughter was in primary school, and they had a thing here to get the halls in. So all the primary schools got these great big halls, like these monster halls with these monster fans. And I remember going up there and going, oh, the kids aren't playing in the playground anymore. All these kids are in this damn sports hall, this big hall. And because I was up there looking for my daughter, and it was Katy Perry's song "I Kissed a Girl" being piped through the
primary school
hall at lunchtime. And the hall, the grade 1s, 2s and 3s, they weren't to use it, but it was 4, 5, 6 and 7s that could use this hall with this pipe music in it. And I'm thinking, I don't know about that. Like, it's a little and all the girls are all singing, I kissed a girl and I like it. And I'm thinking, it sounds like a fun
my boyfriend,
song.
Don't mind it. That's what truth. I know what you're saying. So inappropriate.
And look, there's nothing wrong with the song in whole at a club or anything like that. I just don't, or even on our normal radio when we can moderate that. But for my daughter that was in grade, I think 4 or 5, I just was thinking, can we just stick to the Wiggles maybe?
Exactly.
Like, don't want to come off being some sort of like prude or anything. But I think for grade 4, we're still good with Wiggles,
absolutely. Look, and the thing is, I'm a singer. I think I told you that. I'm a muso. So what I used to do when my daughter was going to primary school, I actually used to tutor singing at the school that she attended. So one-on-one lessons. And interesting, because I don't follow pop music. I'm not into pop music, so I had to learn. So when I teach people, I have to learn. Obviously, just like any instrument that you learn, but for singing, when they come to you with a song, I'll learn how to sing the song, especially kids at primary school. Number one, and I told all the parents this, appropriateness, suitability. Like if that song is like, what's her name, Taylor Swift, and all her ex, like no, in the sheets and something around the smell of the, I don't know what, I'm like, sweetheart, no, darling, we can't sing that song. Oh, why not? And they don't know. But this is the thing. It's like the drag queen story time. Little kids don't know. And if they are, we've lost again. Oh, Sarah, come back. And if little kids don't know, everything is normalized for them. So So that's one thing as a singing tutor, there's just no way I'd ever allow, the kids to come in and, I'd say it nicely, obviously, and would, choose another song, but, that's what I mean. Everything is so sexualized these days, it
Yeah.
is really, even the clothing for children, sometimes
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
girls, can I just say, not so much the boys, girls clothing.
Girls, girls.
Mm.
Girls, yeah. I just reflecting on, my daughter's 21 this year, and she's just bought herself a new to her car. She is
Oh, woo-hoo.
amazing, amazing
Well
young
done.
woman. Never known anyone like her in my life. She
Awesome.
saved cash for that car,
Good
like nuts.
girl.
So yeah, and it's a manual license too. Thank you very much.
Oh, excellent. God, that's hard. You hardly
Yeah,
hear of that these days. When I got my car, 2 years ago now, my niece was like, "Oh, Auntie, can we drive it?" And they jumped. They went, "Oh, we can't because they don't have manual license. They've got the
yeah.
automatic licenses only." So yeah,
I said to her, you put that on
well
your
done.
resume. Don't just put license. You put manual license on that. You
Yeah,
claim
absolutely.
that, my love. You claim
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah,
they're very, it's very,
So
very rare these days. Mm,
yeah, yeah. Well, our whole family have got the manual license, and because we got manual cars,
beautiful.
it's easier. My car was automatic, but my husband's car is a manual, so we had the car that she could learn in. So, but and that's another
Great.
thing of is getting our
Pardon me.
young ones to have strength. I think too, Michelle, because you've got a young daughter yourself,
I do. She's
and
she's 14 years of age.
yeah, yeah. So we've got
Mm,
that, and I don't like the phrase "moving forward," but moving forward, we do have to start focusing on how we support our gender critical young women,
absolutely.
but both to because they're going to be going into uni and things like that, so that we need to build on them reasonable shields that they can have, which are nice and shiny mirror shields that they can bounce some of this crap straight back out there off them.
Mm, mm,
And just how not to let somebody like my daughter has had this experience where they're a nice enough fella, but they think they're a girl, and she has the nice
mm.
little pixie haircuts and all that, so she looks non-binary, but she's not. And he keeps wanting her to take him to the Dunnies. So building that strength in our daughters so that they have the resilience to not fall into those traps.
Well, look, and this is the thing too, and I know what you're saying, but and all our kids are different. Every single girl, every single boy, they're all different personalities and different traits. And I know, I don't know, well, shouldn't really say yet because it's only 14, but and because we homeschool, my kid's so grateful that we homeschool, especially that she gets to, she doesn't have to share a bathroom with boys.
Yeah.
Going through puberty and all that type of stuff and everything, all the changes that come with our bodies as, as being female. You really do need to have, I mean, it doesn't matter whether, you still need to have, we still need to have our single sex spaces, but particularly at that phase in your life, you really need to have that, that space. And, it's interesting, even though like we do have a homeschooling group that we catch up with as well, but even some of the homeschooling families are falling for all this stuff too, Stone, because I haven't seen anything in the material that I've ordered, by the way. We do a mix of online and offline,
Yeah.
and I like having the offline stuff. I like having obviously books, hardcore books, and um oh gosh, sorry, what was
That's
I?
right. You're
I've
talking about the
lost
high
my lost
school
my train of thought. Oh yes, sorry.
having any
So
rainbow information coming your way through
yes, I
the
haven't. Thank you so much. I haven't seen anything like that. But of course, our kids also attend after school activities. And so some of the kids that go to, I think they call it Scouts. It went from Girl Guides here, but I think it's Scouts now that girls and boys go to. Anyway, they teach it there. Or don't teach it, but it's almost like I wouldn't say a practice, but it's just a given. They
yeah.
talk
It's
about,
just
you know what I mean? And so it's it's almost like there's really nowhere for our kids. And, you know, some kids are more impressionable than others. Some others are like, you know, nah, go jump. I don't believe. And others are a bit, oh
Yeah.
God, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to have a falling out with anyone. I don't, you know. And look,
It's like
I've
having
said
to go
some,
to Sunday school. That's not a Sunday school.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, we're a few years away yet from, you know, considering. Well, actually, no, we have been considering uni, and I'll be honest with you, I really don't want her to go, but yeah, but you know, I just we'll just have to see when the time comes. I mean, I would love for all the stuff to be peeled back, all these laws and all the policies and all the ridiculousness to be, you know, peeled back, you know, when that time, you know, when it comes time for her to go to uni. But I don't think that it'll happen in that time. Don't know. And this is the thing,
No,
it's a fast moving beast, isn't it, this agenda? Like, you just
it's
don't know what's
fast
going to
moving,
happen
and
from
it's
one
a
day to the next.
huge beast. It's huge.
Mm,
It's going to take a long time to turn it around. You know,
yeah.
it's like the trains. You know, you can't just the train's got to come around those tracks again. You just can't pull it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, just quickly, Sony, everyone's talking about my cat. Still see, I'm telling you, he's quite elderly. I'm very sorry, and he's always hangry. So, I think he forgets that he eats sometimes. But anyway, yeah. So sorry,
He's
sorry to
special,
digress.
darling.
Oh, he's very special.
So just you know, quickly on the moving forward, Michelle, what's
Sure.
anything coming up for both Manawahine and for Women's Action Group Melbourne?
So I'll start with Women's Action Group first. So we're continuing with our monthly Speakers Corner events. We call them Women Will Speak, just to differentiate between, you know, let women speak. So we're
Yep.
Women Will Speak. And at the minute, we don't publicise our Speakers Corner events for a reason, which I won't get into here, but I mean, they're not by invite only as such, but
Yeah.
what we do is we advertise, we say, look, you know, Women's Action Group, we're holding Speakers Corner events on a monthly basis. If you're interested, contact us and we'll take you through the screening process. So obviously, you know, anyone that's going to try and attend and they're not actually on board with, you know, with our movement, pretty much at the start, oh, it's a screening process, I don't hear back from them, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we're doing that. Di's in the comments. Di, sorry, you have to help me remember. For Manawahinekorero, we're actually at the minute. I'm going through. It's a UN document. We're going to be making a submission to the United Nations. They've requested Indigenous peoples to. It's interesting, actually, to make a submission about the laws that have prevented Indigenous peoples from expressing their gender identities and their sexual orientation. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, when you read through it, it is just ridiculous. So I've been reading it and just, you know, and the thing is, they start from a false premise. You know, that, so we already know that gender identities existed, have
Yeah.
existed, you know what I mean? It's like, well, no, that's not, for our people, that's absolutely not true. That's just a lie. There is
Yeah.
no evidence. Oh, sorry. God, my poor darling. There's no evidence to say that any of this stuff was in our culture, you know, not in our songs, not in our haka, not in our audio, our lullabies, not in our carvings, nothing. This is nothing, none of, you know, nothing in our
Love it.
mythology. Di saying absolute tribe, and she's absolutely right. So, you know, but they are desperate to align themselves with indigeneity to give this appearance
Yes.
of being ancient and, you know,
Yes.
and endearing. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yes.
I mean, I don't know about other cultures. I mean, I kind of know about other cultures. I've heard from, you know, a few
Yes.
local Aboriginal. They're like, yeah, we had never had that in our culture. So,
Yeah.
you know, obviously after colonisation, you know, post-colonisation, you know, like definitely, I'm a 70s child, so I've seen some, you know, some Māori men dressing up, you know,
Yes.
as if they're women, but but we all knew that they weren't women,
That's
and
exactly
they,
right.
and they weren't forcing everyone in the entire world to call them women, or they weren't labeling women as chest feeders and vagina owners, and
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
well,
It wasn't
they were
none of that stuff.
transsexuals. Why can't they
Yeah,
just stay with the name entitled transsexual? Because they don't want that. Like, and
yeah.
that goalpost will always move forever. We could never
Mm.
satisfy.
Well, and this is the thing, when you say transgender, what do you mean? Like, you've got from children, young children in school
Mm.
saying that they're born to the wrong body and into the wrong bodies, which is ridiculous, right up to middle-aged men, or maybe 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, all of a sudden coming out wearing their wives clothing, or their daughters underwear. So it's sick, like, so you've got such a breadth in there.
Yeah,
What are you talking about when you say transgender? I mean, the answer is they're talking rubbish. That's what they're talking. Okay, sorry,
absolutely.
Di's saying attaching to oral cultures. Oh yeah, that's a very good point. Di's just saying in the comments there, Stone, that with this agenda attaching itself to oral cultures, as it's easy to say anything you want, and there's no evidence, or rather there's very little evidence.
Yes,
And it's harder with us, though, because we have our arts and our dance as records of our history. But we also, the other thing too, is that for Māori, we didn't have a stolen generation. We didn't have our, like Aboriginal Australia did. So
yeah,
we have got an unbroken, well, pretty much, unless, of course, I'm talking about broadly, not,
yes,
not
yes.
individual
It's a lot
families or
easier
individual.
you can access it because it's
Yeah, that's right.
colonization is fairly young compared to
Yes,
most
yeah,
other
yeah.
countries. Yeah,
Yeah, and because we didn't have,
yeah,
I believe anyway, because we didn't have the stolen generation or anything like that,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
it's easier to trace it back and keep that, to
yeah.
keep the culture alive. You know,
They've
as much.
not yet burnt down your libraries of Alexandria as such.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, we're coming up to an hour, darling, and I
we
would love to
are.
keep talking to you all afternoon.
That's all
Um,
good.
but I've got a couple of things that I've got to do. Been a little bit busy with the fam bam lately. Had
Yeah,
birthdays and whatnot, and
awesome.
yes. But for us here in Brisbane, we're going to be continuing doing the same thing that we've
Oh,
been
wonderful.
um, doing the speakers corner type of thing. And
Great.
I don't know about you, Michelle, but before we leave, I suppose a note to encourage people to start getting local groups going. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
you
We
don't
have to
have to
take it
put
to.
them on YouTube. Yeah,
No, that's
you
right.
don't have to
Yeah,
put them
yeah.
on YouTube. You could just
Mhm.
videotape them on your phone.
Yep.
Get in contact with, if you're in Australia, get in contact with
Mm,
people like me and Michelle. We may even
mm.
host your Speakers Corner video on channel and things like that. I know I'm
I
happy
have
to
no
do
idea
that.
how to do that, but I'll
I
refer
would,
everyone to you.
yeah,
So,
send it my way, Michelle. But do you know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
joking.
so if
I know
somebody
what you're
in
saying.
the local Queensland area here wants to put their little thing up, I'm quite happy to host it. But
Yeah, cool.
if anyone's looking for locals, because I always say someone come to me asking about Melbourne, and I thought, how
You're
did
right.
you find a turf in Queensland, but
Yeah,
through
awesome.
YouTube, but not find any Melbourne turfs?
Yeah,
So
right.
I'm like in my comments, you get over to Michelle, get
Yeah,
over to
cool.
Turf Talk, and
Yeah. Oh,
they're the
Women's Action
ladies.
Group. Sorry. Women's Action
Yeah,
Group on YouTube. Come find us.
yeah,
We're there. We've only got like
exactly.
200 subscribers or something. So yeah, come and follow us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You better. No,
Yeah,
definitely, because your speakers corners are fantastic. You do a great job of them.
thank you. Thank you. And so yours, your last one was amazing. So do you do yours once a month or once every fortnight?
It's once a fortnight at the moment. We're
Great.
Lee, a lady called Leah organises the majority of that. Like she does
Wonderful.
all the correspondence for us. Like, to be honest and truthful,
Awesome.
I turn up with my tripod and the PA and stream it on the channel for them. So
Perfect.
I'm a little bit of the whole team that goes on for our speakers corner.
Love it.
And they
Mm.
do a marvelous job. And you do, it's all those little people not that they're little people, but all the little things that people do that makes the whole, it makes the big whole.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, so we're hoping to, we've been doing the city, but we're going to take this to the burbs, I think.
Awesome. Oh, that'd be
Take it to the
great.
suburbs. Yeah, get out to the terminus areas, I suppose, and
Great.
not just preach to the people in the city, because
Yes.
there's a lot of people out there that are so damn busy. They don't really know that they're caught up in the be kind, and they've never heard a different perspective on
Correct.
what's going on. And
Yeah.
that's what peaking is about, is piquing somebody's interest in it, and then piquing them to be able to say, hey, yeah, you're right. It's breaking that cognitive dissonance, Michelle, and breaking the
That's
brainwashing,
right.
the mind control.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, letting women know that, sorry, getting back to, families are busy, women in particular are always busy. They've got the families to look after, weekends are busy for them, they're taking their kids to sports and blah, blah, blah. But, when they realize what's going on, like it's quite incredible. After Auckland, just quickly, sorry, I know we've got to wrap up. Just after Auckland, when I was in Melbourne, when I was getting all these inquiries for Women's Action Group, a lot of these women, they'd not even been in the movement before. They'd been newly peaked. So talking to them was just so wonderful. So the only screening process we could offer for them was for me to, for us to have a Zoom call. And it was just, wonderful to speak to them all. And just so that they know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And that's key. And that's why I do this channel.
Yes,
I do this channel so
thank you.
that we know that there's just women, just normal everyday women out there that don't agree, and we all do a little tiny bits. Well, thank you so much again, Michelle, for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. And thank you everyone in the comments.
Yes. So, we'll be doing more. I've reached out to a couple of other people, and I'm going to have a couple of other chats on here. So I'm excited for that. And this is where successfully, except for the little bit at the front there.
Don't worry about it.
All right. Well, we'll love yous for now and talk to yous later. Stay loud, my friends. Michelle and Stone out.